Sometimes I watch videos of an atheist talking to a group of believers. It feels different now than when I used to see those clips. Now I just look at the atheist almost like a substitute teacher standing in front of a room of students who believe in Santa. And the substitute just stands there going, Santa Claus is logically fallacious. And I think to myself, okay, and? You got anything else in your toolbox? We got to understand that these believers learn from more than just loved ones, trusted community members. They learn from authority figures who threatened negative reinforcements or painful punishments regularly. Imagine that you're one of those kids in the classroom. What if you were shunned, punished, beaten, ridiculed, or threatened every time you questioned Santa Claus? How could a logical argument compete with that? Who would happily follow logic when the dangers always outweigh the benefits? I have this little pithy saying that helps me emphasize this. Every human action is the result of somebody's rationality. People believe illogical things not because they're crazy, but because they found logical thinking to be dangerous, or at least that type of logical thinking that most people would. The nonsense that we learn in life, whether it's religious or not, seems exclusively to be the result of fear. But worse than that, most of the time, our whole educational lives as children are dependent on what family, authority figures, peers pressure us into doing. Bad grades, poor behavior, that leads to a timeout. We might get grounded, toys get taken away, a spanking, something similar. Not everything we learned in school is perfectly logical, though, right? These negative consequences of challenging an assignment or protesting an idea, not feeling like going to school that day, they're always worse than the long-term effects of complying with authority. At least that's what we think. That's what we learn constantly into adulthood. And I think that there's a privilege of working with children that gets abused. Now, is that abuse as bad as the trauma of a violent parent chasing a kid with a knife or something? No, it's not even close. But when you wield power over people to coerce them into accepting some unsubstantiated idea, I call that abuse. It just is. I think. Even the most humanitarian, egalitarian people, they can forsake their kindness when it comes to God. They'll put fear into you just because, well, that fear was imposed on them. And they'll do it for any reason. It's like an illness. Like if your grandmother was constantly sick, for instance, with a flu, let's say, and your mom goes there to see her and she gets infected too. Well, your mother's going to risk infecting you every single time. No matter how she covers her sneezes or tries not to leave germs behind, you're never going to know a life in which you aren't sick. It's kind of the way it is with atheists, trying to get away from that illness. We sometimes ridicule the theists, hoping to make them embarrassed enough to change their minds, but we forget. How can anyone expect to rebuke or embarrass a person out of their infected state? You can't ridicule the sickness out of a person. You see, to them, you're the sick one.